turn off my thing.
We are live.
I'm doing this. Wait, hold on. Well, now my camera doesn't work because I'm coming in. I'm live from a new location today because we're gonna
As
get.
am I.
Yeah, right. Well, I want to hear your story in a second, but we're gonna redo my office.
Oh, okay.
So we found it happened to be at Gather, at our work location at Gather. One of the businesses there does interior design, I guess, but they said they did a lot of photography studios to help them set up like
Right.
little shots and stuff. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, I'm ironically just not good at having an eye for that. Where do I put my desk and what kind of knickknacks should I have behind me? So I wanted to. So we're gonna get that all set up. So right now I'm operating from my secondary spot. But cool. But hey, tell me about your weekend. What happened to you?
A little bit of science to that, right? You want to make sure your studio, I guess, right, is tracking. So yeah, I'm a little
And that's
work from
kind of
home
part
today.
of the theme of today, right?
Yeah, a little work from home today. So for the members, getting a little bit of my home background, not much of an office. I admire you, Scott. I mean, you and Jen, you guys do. You can take the show on the road, work from home, work from Gather. I mean, man, you guys are fully mobile, and I don't know. Maybe it's just the way my brain clicks. I've just really got to unplug and get away from that home environment, right? And just someplace where I can focus on, tasks at hand, right? That's my preference. But, hanging out here today, nursing up my knee, and we'll be back in the hunt here in a day or so, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, no, I appreciate that. And for years, for me, even though I was self-employed, I made myself go into an office. So I totally get the need to step away. But eventually, I kind of lost track of how I was supposed to control my time and when I was supposed to be where.
Yeah.
And I didn't like just going in the office just to be there, for no reason. And I kind of came up with this idea of I'm just going to make every day, I'm going to have a mini vacation every day. Like no matter
Mhm.
what it is, I get to be, whatever, even if it's just sitting around and checking out for a few minutes. And so over time, I just, realized, hey, that's kind of what self-employment's about. And so I'm not so worried about
Yeah.
hitting a certain amount of hours or showing up at a certain time. I'm just, need to get the work in. And that's kind of the idea of today's topic of, how do you in the modern age do that? So whether or not you're working from home or not, that's another advantage of this. But yeah, before we kind of get into that topic, Mike, you want to kind of catch us up on anything you got going on? And
Yeah, happy to. Right. And again, just as a lead in, as a primer to what it is we're going to talk about today, right? Scott, you've been a huge help on the Blue Water front, right? As we initially, and I'm sure the audience has heard us kind of, recount this engagement, but you've been so instrumental in the online world and the use of the technology, right? And when we started this effort here at Blue Water, we really indexed far to the other side of that spectrum, meaning in person and one-on-one, and kind of reaching those. And I just love kind of where we're at right now, because we're kind of at a neat intersection where I'm leveraging a lot of your experience and your insight in the tech world, right? And how that can better synergize with some of the efforts that we've got going here for the betterment of our members, right?
mm-hmm.
And you have even indexed a little bit to, hey, I need to kind of engage more one-on-one and kind of get out and what we say, shake hands and kiss babies and hug people, all that kind of stuff, right? I mean, so
Yeah.
the networking gig is a contact sport, right? And but I just love how we kind of started in those corners, and we've kind of intersect and how we're kind of leveraging our what we both bring to the table for the betterment of both of us. So
And that was my strategy for years. My strategy has been to, like, I just recognized I was coming out of the military and the financial world, where whether it's rules or just rules saying you can't use the technology, or It happens in the financial world too. You're not allowed to send emails to clients without getting compliance to look at it and that kind of stuff. In the military, you can't always have your phone with you, so you're not learning how to use social media the way that a lot of people can. And so I recognized, and I just saw all these people. This is about 10 years ago when the internet started being a thing. I saw these influencers, getting online. I mean, call them influencers. That's what the word
Yeah.
became. And unfortunately, that's well, it's the right word, but the misconception is that you have to go become a quote unquote influencer. And so I went down that path for many years, thinking that you had to be someone speaking on stage and starting big podcasts and all that kind of stuff. But over time, I realized no. And somebody told me this. They said, think about the highest paid person in any profession, whether it's, the financial world, whether it's a doctor. Who are the highest paid people? Well, it's Dave Ramsey. He's not even a financial advisor
Right.
licensed. He's not.
Right.
You think about it. He's the most well known.
Yeah.
Dr. Phil, Dr. Oz. Like, really? We wouldn't consider them doctors in the way that you consider, but sorry, that's just the way it works. Now, I'm not saying everybody try to, go start TV shows and
Right.
radios and stuff,
Right.
but that's not the idea. It's just, okay, your
Yeah.
better opportunities for getting paid are to become better known. And here we are in this amazing, world where this is all free.
Yeah. Well, another one comes to mind, and you and I have talked about this guy, Tony Robbins, right? That guy drives me nuts. Like, what has he done? What has he done other than, you can't argue with the fact that he's an affable speaker. He's somewhat, draws people in, and he has a following, right? So, but what credentialing, or what great huge thing did he do? Did he launch Amazon? Did he, what was it that he has
And
pushed him to that level
and
of
and that's the
followers?
proof. That's the proof
I,
right there, is
I
that you
didn't
don't
even,
have to do anything. You have to be able to communicate
well, let me just say
value.
this, for just to put our members at ease, we do something, right? We
Yeah,
try to
yeah.
bring a current, relevant, credible message to the table, in helping people, right? But I get your point. It's absolutely valid, right?
I mean, and that's of course where you can have charlatans as well. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if
No,
one
that's
individual,
legit. That's no doubt. Yeah,
yeah,
you
if
can have
one
people out
individual sees
there
value.
hoodwinking people. Yeah,
Right. So, anyways, that's the kind of theme, at least the way I look at this. Like,
yeah,
unfortunately, there's a dilemma. When you're on social media, or you're publishing any sort of content, that it's either you get what do you call it? Imposter syndrome, right? It's like, who am
sure.
I to say or write anything?
Yeah,
And that's true. But then it's also um kind of like, hey, I don't really want to put myself out there and all that. And that's clearly the boat I'm in. Like, hey, I would love to not,
it's
be doing YouTube, but this
it's
is this is the
legit.
yeah,
It's
but this
it's
is
a
the
thing.
job.
Yeah, and Scott, that is something that a lot of our membership, right, at Blue Water, think about it, right? I
Hmm.
mean, the senior leadership that walk through our doors, I won't say all, but many are coming from areas, and you'll relate to this. You've got a background in the military as well too. Hey, I just didn't want a social media presence, man. I don't want to worry about that. I don't want to have any platforms out there that anybody can find anything else about me or my family or anything, right? I mean,
Hmm.
that was just not something that I ever aspired to do. And a lot of our members walk through the door, and they have that. And again, I've said this in the past, and I'll share it with you, and I share it with them. I just say, hey, look, I'm not saying that you have to have a brand or be on social media to find your next success in life. But I am saying that if you don't do these things, do we think you put yourself at a little bit of a disadvantage? Absolutely,
Hmm.
we do, right? And primarily because, think about it this way. social media in as a tool, right? We all use it to research products, right? If you're going to buy a new car, you're going to do all these kind of things. You're going to get, some new stereo. You're going to get new computer, whatever it happens to be. I look at our members and I tell them, recognize this: you're the product, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're the product, and people are using these tools to find more information out about you. If you are not findable, am I saying you'll never get a job? No, that's not what I'm saying. Do I think that you put yourself at a little bit of a disadvantage? I think that, right? Why do I think that? I mean, I was a hiring manager at Amazon. I can promise you that as soon as your resume was in the keep pile, as soon as we decided we wanted to talk to you, where did I go? I went straight to social media. I went to LinkedIn. I went to some platform. I wanted to see you. I wanted to get some kind of a connection with you. I wanted to see your brand. I wanted to understand more about what you were about. And again, I'm trying to be fair here. I also remember my last job in the Navy as chief of staff at Air Land, right? I did not want a social media profile. Man, I went to great lengths not to have one. When I was CAG 3, when I was CO of VF, then transitioned to VFA 32, I did not have a social media platform. I jokingly out loud would say I live vicariously through, my wife, Michelle, her social media profile. I would, kind of go on and see what's going on there, but I didn't want an account of my own. I didn't want any of my own stuff out there. But I quickly realized, stepping into my career progression, I'm going, ooh, hey, wait a minute. How many times do people have to ask you that they're looking for you, but they can't find you, and what's going on, right? It became apparent to me that, not having something was putting me at a disadvantage. Was a huge disadvantage. I can't put a number to it or percentage to it or anything, but do I think it was enough that it was going to have either a positive or negative impact, whether I had a profile or didn't? Yeah, I think that's a fair statement. And I don't want our members to say, oh, Mike Wallace said, if you don't have a LinkedIn account, you're never going to get hired. That's not what I'm saying.
Well,
I'm
I
saying
just don't.
there's a value to it, right? There's a value.
Yeah,
to
but
it.
at this point, like, that shouldn't even be a question. And in fact, kind of what I want to talk about today is, all right, well, now not only is it a disadvantage to probably not have a LinkedIn account, unless you just, I mean, hey, if you don't need it, you don't need it. If you don't want to do it, there's always ways. But now that kind of everybody's got one, that's created a whole new dilemma. How do you step out and create even more of an advantage? So now, instead of worried about the disadvantage. And so here's the point. So you were correct. If you are the product on traditional social media.
Absolutely.
And so this is why YouTube is completely different, or it can be. It can be the opposite. You can have complete control if you're on YouTube, because now it's your own TV channel. So now, as the hiring manager, if you're on Amazon and now you're going through LinkedIn, it's like, all right, I found their LinkedIn profile. Now, what else might make someone stand out? One of many things, but in this example right here, what if someone had a YouTube channel and you're like, oh my gosh, this guy's done some thoughtful interviews with people in our industry.
Right.
Like, as part of his job search, like, holy cow, he seems to be, trying to learn about, anyways, that's the way I think about this. So I have a theory that, for whether it's podcasting, writing books, but, publishing at some point, learning the art of communication in this modern civilian world is the one thing that we are just, military retirees, just military people in general, whether it's being humble or don't want to speak too much or don't know what to say, we've got to, find a path to start learning these skill sets and communicating. Otherwise, in order to step out. And that doesn't mean you have to become famous.
Agree. Yeah. Completely agree. And again, this is a great segue. And I loved how we started this episode off, and we've kind of, worked our way down here. And just for the listeners here today, right? Scott and I have had some conversations over the last, 10 days, maybe, Scott. And it's not been, hopefully it's not news to our members. They track our efforts, but we're getting really close to beta testing our Blue Water Digital. And Scott, oh, by the way, I want you to be a part of that. So you'll get a link to get your registration up when we beta launch this thing. And we're going to pick a small audience of about 10 or 12 people to send it to. And people are going to jump on the platform and try to break it and see what we can get out of this thing. But and I told Tom Marsden I would throw him a bone. So it's a marathon, consulting. There are IT partners in this thing, right? And they're located right at Town Center here in Virginia Beach, and they're just great partners helping us out with this effort. But the gist of the conversation today is we have several of our messages, right, at Blue Water that we have now recorded. And the reason we've recorded them is for a couple of call outs. The first one really is to make sure that the instructors, the career progression consultants that we have coming to the table, as we're running them through their training and ramping them up, they now have a means to watch previous, content being delivered to an audience. And I think that's really helpful for those consultants to understand how we deliver our message. Because our message, I think you've said through it, Scott, it's not just reading slides, right? We share vignettes and experiences. Hey, let me tell you about a time when, or hey, the reason that this is important, we tell you to target your resume because let me tell you about a time when a member submitted their resume and it got kicked off and they almost didn't get the job. And this is legit, right? And so this is why you do these things. And so enough of those call outs and vignettes, right, we put together, make it an impactful message. So, but that said, we've now got, and what did I say to you the other day? It was like, was it 6 gig or how many gig
50.
of data? Right? Yeah, 50 gig. No, it was 50 gig. Yeah. And I'm sharing with you my ineffective and lack of IT skills here. But anyway, it's like 50 gig, 60 gig of data. And I went to, for the listeners, I went to Scott and I said, Scott, what am I to do with this stuff? I mean, I'm going to have to pay somebody to hang it on a site or whatever. And Scott says, hey, Mike, well, why don't you start a YouTube channel? And I go, well, way early on years ago, I think I dabbled in that a little bit, but quickly just got pulled away from it because that wasn't my sweet spot in the space. But that is your sweet spot in the space, Scott. You bring that insight and you do that. So very graciously, you not only offered to help me download these things and get them into that environment, but now, here we are talking about that effort, and you're going to share some key insights with this as well, too, and for the benefit of the audience here today, too. So excited about that. So thank you in advance for that. I mean, that's a huge weight off of my shoulders.
Well, yeah, no, and it's, part of me, part of this is just to show you and everyone, how easy it is to use some of these tools when you're kind of on the other side of it.
Because it's the world you're in, right? I mean, yeah.
I mean, they're accessible. They're accessible and they're extremely powerful. But there's no college course in this. There's no PMP certification. I mean, there's all sorts of trainings online. But what I do is I just watch YouTube videos of how to do YouTube or whatever the topic might be. And you just start and build from there and build to practice. But the trick is to think of it as practice. Because now, if you're literally practicing, what does it mean to start a YouTube channel? Just to even contemplate it, like, how could I use this? Is it a hobby? Could it actually help me build my brand? Is it a networking tool? I like to think of it as a networking tool. Yeah. Yes, obviously it's helping to build my brand, but what I'm trying to do is just share value and allow people to find it. I'm not trying to broadcast it, crazy. Sure, you do the social media stuff, but I'd rather, have it out there, make it available so the right people can kind of stumble into me. And that's the method. And then doing conversations and interviews like this just allows us to saturate essentially LinkedIn on these topics, and eventually people will stumble into us. And over time,
a fantastic job with this technology, Scott. You really have your website and the updates that you continue to make.
I'm learning.
And even this forum, I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit, right? You've put years and years and years into this, and it shows, right? I mean, you guys do fantastic editing, fantastic products, and you just roll them out consistently. And for the audience out there today, if you haven't been to Scott's website, you need to go to the US Wealth site and take a look and spend some time there and have a look around and go to his YouTube channel and go, and see a lot of what he's got out there. It's pretty impressive, you guys. But you do that very well, Scott. And again, thank you, for making the time to kind of introduce me, into some of these tools that are likely to be able to help me on the blue water side, right?
Yeah, because think about now how you can use it, because not everything has to be public on YouTube. That's I think maybe what you didn't realize before is you can make things private and unlisted. So think about what you used to do as a kid. Did you ever have a camera recorder and you just had a bunch of VHSs that only you played around with? Like, that's what I used to do as a kid. I'd edit videos and make little movies of myself.
Yeah.
Like, you can do that on LinkedIn. Practice doing interviews and watch, instead of doing it to a mirror, do it on a video and then rewatch the videos. Like, I like to go back and watch our interviews and think about, what was a better question I could have asked at that time.
Yeah.
And try to
become powerful in reflection, right? And used correctly, right? Absolutely. Absolutely.
And now that you can do it on your phone, and we have such good cameras, and with all these Zoom calls going on, the easy way to stand out is to just simply get a little bit of lighting and think about that just even a little bit. Like, both of us are in bad lighting right now, but so it's like,
I probably am for sure.
Well, no, see, that's the thing, is it's not that big of a deal, but if you consider something like that, it'll add up over time. Let's see.
Maybe I threw the switch there. Maybe I got a little bit better lighting now.
Yeah. See, it's good, and it's not always.
Do you like my background? I put a little.
I love the. I was noticing the.
Scrolling pictures back there too.
No, I was noticing the forest earlier. It's great. But
the people that are watching this probably just roll their eyes at us. And for you guys that are watching this, we have fun with it. We just try to, we tease out some learning points and we have some good discussions, but we have fun with it.
Because we're literally doing what I'm talking about. It's like anybody can do this. It's nothing special. It's just a way of saying, all right, I have this thing that I'm working on that can bring value to this particular audience. Obviously, non-military retiree is not going to watch this video. They're not going to bother, and that's absolutely fine. And guess what? Not every military retiree is gonna bother as well. But either way, I'm networking this whole time.
Yeah.
Every time I put a video out, somebody who didn't otherwise know me now knows of me. Like, how it's honestly kind of weird sometimes when I realize it, but I'm just leveraging the technology. That it's the same thing LinkedIn's doing. You have yourself. Everybody's got a LinkedIn profile now, so people are looking at your profile while you're not there, so you don't have a chance to talk to them back. So this way, I get to talk to them.
Yeah,
they actually get to know me a little bit.
So if you're going to talk me through this, right, and hopefully you'll be with me when we download some of these videos to this YouTube channel. What does that look like, Scott? What's one of the first things I would need to do? Do I need to go to YouTube and get an account?
Well, YouTube's tied to Google.
Okay.
So if you have any sort of Gmail account, or you can go create one, and you can set up as many YouTube channels and accounts as you want, just like you can set up as many Gmails, and they can be synced together, and you just use a drop down menu. So all that's pretty straightforward in how you set up the account. But once you have the account, it's just a platform. It's just a dashboard where you can upload videos. Sorry, I meant to pull this up. I'll show my dashboard.
Yeah, I'm just curious of the interface here, and I'm sure some of the members are as well too.
Yeah, so hold on. Like I said, I'm not on my regular desk right now, so I don't have my big screens. Here we go.
Don't you hate that? I love the big screens in the office, man. And when I just dwindle right down to a laptop, it kills me. So that's your YouTube.
So this is our YouTube channel. Okay. And it can be anything. You can have your own individual channel. In fact, I've got other accounts where if I wanted to, I could have a private channel where, like, Jen's got a separate channel for her podcast, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can have channels for whatever you want. And so, as an individual military, you just, have an account on with your name, for example.
Now, Scott, is
And
this a free service or do you
yeah,
have to
this is
pay?
all, it's just YouTube. It's just a YouTube account. It's completely free. You can upload as many videos
Really?
as you want. And so, anybody who's in any sort of business and doing any sort of advertising, it's like there's no reason not to have a YouTube channel, because you can even just make a couple of videos as just a short commercial, whether it's an elevator pitch or whatever. In this day and age, the easiest way to get someone to know you is have them watch a video of you. That's just, the way it works. And so, whether you realize or not, that's what you're doing all the time when you're checking out a service. You're probably YouTubing them anyways.
No, it makes sense, right?
Yeah. So, um, so you can set this up as any way you want, and as you make more videos, of course, you can build playlists and you can see all the stuff I've done. But to upload a video, it's just a matter of, clicking here. You can do this right from the app inside your phone. In fact, you can go live. Like we could go live right from YouTube. It's the reason I'm using StreamYard is because of doing the interviews and stuff. But you could just pull up your phone and go live or record a video and upload it, right from your phone. And you can even do editing inside of YouTube.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's
I had
it's a
no idea.
full. So yeah, so I didn't realize until I started talking to you about this last week. Yeah, I use this stuff all the time, so I kind of assume everybody understands kind of what the back end looks
No,
like.
they
But
absolutely don't. Now, what about if there was a video that you were particularly found useful? Maybe somebody's doing a leadership lesson or something on YouTube. Are you able to like put some kind of a link to that session on your YouTube channel, or what would that look like, right? If you wanted to, like, you upload all of our Take a Knee Tuesday
yeah,
discussion and they're on your page. What if I wanted to link to those on the BlueTube or the Blue Water page, right?
on the YouTube channel.
On the YouTube channel, could I do
So
that?
so no, a YouTube channel is its own channel. You would just upload the video separately in that case, or
Yeah.
we would run the video from your channel or whatever. Or actually, what we would do is stream it to both channels at once. So
Yeah.
once you have the Blue Water channel set up, this feed right now, we could send it to both places. Just like right now, I have this feed going to YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter. I guess I would send it to
Wow.
Facebook, but my account wasn't set up. Yeah,
Yes, this is not intuitive insight, Scott. I'm just telling you. I'm going to make
yeah.
a leap of faith. Maybe there's a large portion of our listeners that are up to speed on this, but I don't think this is intuitive, right? This is a school of hard knocks that you've gone out and learned all this.
Well, I
Right.
mean, maybe it's not intuitive for everybody, but my other joke is, I mean, you flew an F-15, F-18, right? You,
Well,
you,
yeah,
and so, and I get it, and it's not that you have to go broadcast. I'm just saying this
sure.
is an idea for building a new
Yeah.
skill set that most others won't, and it can work as a networking tool, just
Well,
like how we had that conversation
and
last week.
case in point, right? And how we got talking about this is on the Blue Water Digital platform. Once we launched that, I was looking for a means to not have to host 60 gig of video on the Blue Water, platform.
Right.
And a suggested alternative you brought up is, hey, let's get a YouTube channel. And now you can link from your platform to, right, the specific piece of content that you want members to be able to see, right? And they may not be able to see it if it's private, right? They
Hmm.
won't be able to scroll and see it. But if you want to link it to them specifically, sounds like that we can make that happen. So it's interesting, you know, um, alternatives out there.
Yeah, and yeah, you could take any one of these videos and just put it on a website or send it in an email. You can link it. You can link snippets of it. You can get the transcript and download it. So if you're, having a conversation with someone and you're like, "Wow, I want to go
Mhm.
back and throw that into Chat GPT uh,
Oh, yeah.
to to learn from it, like to
Yeah.
ask it questions." You can now put a video into ChatGPT and ask the video questions. So, that's kind of a,
That's a little
interesting hack.
scary,
But
actually, but yeah, it's pretty powerful. Yeah.
well, I mean, again, the idea is, this is what's happening out there. There's no systems for it. It
Hmm.
becomes a way to build a skill set that
Hmm.
is also going to help you communicate anyways and get to know people and network at the same time. So, anyway, since we were talking about, just thought
No,
I'd might as well use that to share some ideas
no,
today. And
and I'm glad you did, right? Because when I get back into the office and we find some time to get together,
yeah,
again, thank you for your offer to kind of come over and at least get me started in building the channel, making sure it's set up correctly, and downloading some of the content that we've got. Right? Sounds like it'll take some time, right? But you just put it in motion, and it'll eventually
yeah,
get there. So um, hey, just real quick, just for letting everybody know, what do we got going on in the Blue Water arena, right? I was just sitting here today working on the brief that I'm putting together for the Major Commanders Conference out in San Diego. We're headed out
cool.
that direction on the 28th. Get there on the 28th. Right now, we're set to present on the early afternoon on the 29th. We have an hour and a half block for us just to share some keen insights and a lot of these lessons learned and a lot of these vignettes that reinforce, right, the message that we put out to our members. And it's going to be a pretty select audience, right? It's all the naval aviation's major commanders, right? So all these O6s who are aircraft carrier COs, Commodores, CAGs, like this is the leadership, right? Within naval aviation being hosted out there by the Air Boss. And, really excited at that opportunity to be able to go out there and just share some insights. And again, not a threat to retention, right? We're really careful about that, right? This is absolutely couldn't be anything further from our heart or our intent, right? It's just not what we're about. In fact, I spend a little bit of time saying, stay, enjoy it while you can. You are likely not to find this type of synergy, right? Anyplace else. It doesn't mean you won't find success, and doesn't mean you won't find fulfillment, but it probably the grass isn't going to be any greener on the other side. It might just be a different color, right? And spend a little bit of time kind of putting out there. So we're really excited to do that. Although, unfortunately, I got to take the red eye back on the 29th because we're making final preparation for our December 6th cohort, which is up in Washington, D.C. And for our members, they typically know we do monthly cohorts, and they're usually the last Wednesday of every month. But as we get to the back half of the year with Thanksgiving and Christmas, that fourth quarter where we would normally have time to do, 3 cohorts, one a month, we really get 2, right? You get one in, at the end of October. You can't really do one at the end of November because that's in the middle of Thanksgiving. You can't do one at the end of December because that's Christmas. So you get this end of year, October, and then the first week of December, and then that's the year's a wrap, right? And
Right.
that seems to have kind of worked out pretty well for us, over the last few years. But I mean, another milestone, right? Getting ready to start year 4, and I know that's nothing in comparison to the efforts that you've put in, you and Jen, pushing the U.S. Vet Wealth brand. You guys have been at this for years, Scott, and golf clap to you guys, right? For staying tenacious and pushing that out there. But this is the start of our 4th year, and I personally am pretty excited about that. And it goes by in a flash, right? I mean, who would have thought that, we would be starting year 4 right now? And so just building upon, some of the engagements that we've had with Sixth Fleet over in Naples and the Naval Academy Alumni Association, and hoping to continue to build a relationship with CNAF out in San Diego and some of these, larger organizations to say, look, you don't have to settle for underperforming, legacy and institutionalized organizations like TAP or any of the other organizations in the ocean of goodwill. I mean, think about it, Scott. Why do we settle? Like, why would we do that? And the other thing, as I'm headed out to San Diego, what company do you know that does not seek a return on its investment? I mean, let me just phrase it this way. Imagine if you had a business and it was centered around people and you invested millions of dollars into people for training them, and you kept them for 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 plus years. And then it came a time for you to say, hey, you know what? Thanks for coming. Firm pat on the back. Here's your wristwatch, and you go on your way. And for non-military, you don't even get a wristwatch, right? You just, here you go. Here's the door. And they don't even make an effort to stay in touch with you. They don't really make an effort to, what are you going to pursue? Hey, we're going to send you an email once a quarter just to stay in touch. And hey, when you get there and find success, would you share those lessons learned back with us? I mean, think of the power of that, Scott. If we'd been doing this, if we'd run DOD, right, and the Navy like a business, like Jeff Bezos would have at Amazon, for God's sakes, we'd have mountains of data. So the second that you stepped out of uniform, how powerful would this be? Here's your network. Here you go. Here's the people that you need to plug in with. Here's every single bit of insight that they've provided you on how to be successful in pursuing whatever company you decided you want to pursue, right? Here's all the answers. And not only that, here's the compensation, information that relates to that effort as well, too. Think of the data. And it just completely blows my mind that nobody is out there trying to track this. And for my part, for my partners and our staunch supporting, corporate partners and our career progression consultant, Steve Weeman, and the team that's out there, we're going to do this, right? I mean, that's why I've got Tom Marsden and the Marathon guys, and we are going to take a step in that direction in securing this data and this insight for the betterment of our members. When they step up to the table, I don't want to have a conversation with them to go, hey, this is what I think. Who cares what I think? I want to have a conversation with them going, hey, based on the last 10 people that pursued the same thing that you did, here's what they saw. So we recommend that you do this. Like, it's an analytical discussion.
Right.
Anyway, so, we get passionate about it. I do, but it just blows my mind that it's just, it's a wasted effort. It's completely uncaptured. There is no return on investment for this. And so why do we have to settle? We shouldn't have to settle. Don't settle.
Yeah.
Find somebody that's going to be, that trusted partner with you as you navigate to your next success. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And, it's going to add up over time, whether it's more meaningful employment, better income,
Better fit.
but you've got to take that on. The military's not going to do it for you, and unfortunately, that becomes a shock for everybody almost every time, and that's just the way it is. So hey, so thank you, Mike, for what you're doing at Blue Water.
And thank you
give everybody a softer landing.
No, we're I just love how this relationship continues to mature, right? We, and for the listeners out there, and Scott and I've talked about this a lot, right? And I'm comfortable in discussing it, right? We obviously enjoy serving the same demographic, but we come at it from two completely different aspects, right? And it's very synergistic. There are a few relationships in business where we're stronger together than we are apart, right? And I believe this is one, right? I mean, we bring such acute insight in each of our own swim lanes, right? And credible and current and relevant insight that it just makes our members better served, right? From the insight that we're trying to bring to them. And I just, I think that's just going to continue to grow and it's going to be more evident over time. I really believe that.
Yes, sir. That's the idea.
All right. Cool, what do you got going on in your world?
I'm heading out to Colorado next week. I should be in Colorado Springs, I think, Tuesday and Wednesday next week. We should probably put together a little meetup out there spontaneously.
Oh,
Might
nice. You let me know. We can jump
one
in.
of my yeah, that'll be cool. So I actually, yeah, I'm gonna be on an airplane next Tuesday, so we uh won't be having a show next week.
No worries.
But
Travel.
cool. Well, yeah, but we'll talk in the meantime and get this YouTube thing going either before I leave or after I get back. But
Love it. Thank you
if
for
I
your
don't
help,
see you,
man.
yeah. No, I've been trying to drag you online, for as part of this for years and years. This is just the start of it. Again, to get the
Yeah.
reps, to get the warm and fuzzies. We know that
And for the
we,
listeners out there, I resisted a long time, didn't I? I wasn't really sure about this whole
yeah,
digital platform in the world and everything, but here we
no,
are.
it's just this is the better way to let people know that you're a resource and out there. And then as we get better at doing this, we'll you know do little presentations, share tips,
Sure.
get yeah, as we've been doing,
Yeah.
get people on to share their success stories, what they've learned.
Love that.
I
Yeah.
wanna bring in somebody from the 10X Vets group I just talked to talk about the Strengths Finder, Clifton
I love it.
Strengths Finder. That's a great
Yeah.
management tool. So no, we want to keep building on just anything that's going to be useful or resourceful for the military retiree. If you didn't see last week's show where we talked about mindfulness
Yep.
with Brianna Renner from the Veterans Yoga Project, which is a
That was
really
a
cool
great session,
organization.
wasn't it? That was good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. It's
That
fun.
feels really
Now
good.
you're gonna have to use it yoga to heal your knee. What did
Yeah,
you
I'm
do?
gonna have to do that.
What's Lake Gas? What did you do? You
Oh
water
my gosh.
skiing or
But,
something?
it's like, well, no, it's too cold to be water skiing and out on
Oh,
jet skis or anything out there. But you're out on the lake, you're out doing crazy things anyway, and and probably partaking too much, right? And then crazy things happen. So but it was a good time with friends. We have some close friends that are that out that direction, and they're kind enough to invite us out periodically. And
no, great.
it's just a really, really good time. I will tell you. In fact, I wish I had a picture of this. A good buddy of mine said, "Man, hold it. The biggest bass I have ever caught off of his dock was this past weekend. I was just out there, just spending time flicking, a topwater lure out there, and Scott, I hooked into, Moby Dick. It was crazy, man.
Really?
And got this thing up, and it was a massive, massive fish. And I just went, what the heck? It was by far the biggest bass I've ever caught off his dock. And that was it. That made my weekend right there. I just,
All right.
threw him in.
I know nothing about fishing,
Well,
so
neither do I.
I'll take
I
it.
was just out there throwing it out there, and
Oh,
I hooked into something. So it's like, what do you do?
I couldn't even do that. That's funny.
Oh yeah.
Well, awesome, man. Well, congrats. Well, hey, safe travels to San Diego if I don't see you
Okay,
before
you
then, but
too.
I'm
Be
sure we'll
careful coming out
chat.
Colorado, and
Either
yeah,
ways.
reach out, man. If you want to, set something up, we can do it spontaneously. Whatever
All
works.
right.
Okay,
Sounds
brother.
good, dude. All right.
Right.
Feel better soon.
You bet. Thank you.
Okay.